What's a boy to do? I thought you'd know better than to corner an animal like a fox, Konsu. We have a tendency to show our teeth.
Go get a set of kawaii fox ears to go along with that D20, because I'm going back to one of my favorite creatures from Japanese mythology for a fire-themed oracle build. This Kitsune is a magic DPS healing support character, with enough survivability to not require a babysitter. I'm not going to go very deeply into all of the cool racial traits that Kitsune can get, because those aren't that relevant to this build. The main thing you need to think about are the core ability score bonuses. Kitsune get a +2 to dexterity, a +2 to charisma, and a -2 to strength. The most important ability score for this build is charisma. This affects your spells per day and your spell save DC. You obviously want the ability score modifier as high as possible so you can get as many bonus spells as you possibly can. Your charisma will also impact some not super important, but still nice to have skills. Next up is your dexterity. Your dexterity will impact your AC and your skills. The third most important ability score is Constitution. This is where you're going to get at least a decent amount of your survivability from. Because oracles have a D8 hit die, having a little bit of a Constitution modifier can give you far more survivability than your standard squishy caster. Finally, this build needs an intelligence score of 13 or higher. Finally, let's talk about that favored class bonus. A Kitsune Oracle reduces the penalty for not being proficient with one weapon by 1. When the non-proficiency penalty for the weapon becomes 0, because of this ability, the Oracle is treated as having the appropriate martial or exotic weapon proficiency. This will take you 4 levels, by the way. I don't really consider this a necessity unless you want a cool weapon because it's thematic. I honestly think that favored class bonus is best used for more Constitution, which will give you even more survivability. Alright, now on to the class features. Starting with the Mystery. Obviously, you're going to want the Flame Mystery. The Flame Mystery grants you some additional class skills: Acrobatics, Climb, Intimidate, and Perform. You'll also receive bonus spells that I'll go into in a little bit. As you increase in oracle levels, you're going to be getting these things called revelations. Those are basically magical abilities. For your first revelation, I recommend Burning Magic. Whenever a creature fails its saving throw and takes fire damage from one of your spells, it catches on fire. The fire deals 1 point of fire damage per spell level at the beginning of the burning creature's turn. The fire lasts for 1d4 rounds, but it can be extinguished as a move action if the character succeeds a reflex save using the spell's DC. Dousing the creature with water as a standard action grants it a +2 to this save, while immersing the creature in water extinguishes the fire. Spells that do not grant saves do not cause creatures to be set on fire. This is a fantastic ability because it allows you to get that persistent damage bonus, which does stack up over time. At 3rd level, the revelation you're going to want is Fire Breath. As a standard action, you unleash a 15-foot cone of fire from your mouth. This fire deals 1d4 points of fire damage per level. A reflex save halves the damage. You can use this ability once per day, plus 1 additional time per day at 5th level. And every 5 levels thereafter, the save DC is charisma based. At 7th level, take Wings of Fire. As a swift action, you can manifest a pair of fiery wings that grant you a fly speed of 60 feet with average maneuverability. You can use these wings for 1 minute per day per oracle level. The duration does not need to be consecutive, but it must be used in 1 minute increments. And you do have to be 7th level to take this revelation. The ability to fly adds even more to the survivability of this build, as well as your maneuverability. The ability to fly over the battlefield will allow you to easily pummel your opponents with deadly fireballs and quickly zoom into healing range for your allies. Now let's get into the feats for this build. At first level, you want Spell Focus Evocation. This is a gateway feat. On its own, it just increases the DC of your evocation spells by 1, which definitely isn't bad. At third level, take the feat Mage's Tattoo. With this feat, you select one school that you have spell focus in, and it increases the school's caster level by 1. What this means for your evocation spells is an extra d6 of fire damage. You'll also be able to cast Dancing Lights as a spell-like ability. Your 5th level feat should be Glorious Heat. This feat is a little bit on the iffy side, so you're definitely gonna want to run it by your DM. But it's an official Paizo feat, so don't worry about it too much. With the Glorious Heat feat, when you cast a divine spell with the fire descriptor, choose a single ally within 30 feet that you can see. That ally heals a number of points equal to the level of the spell cast, and gets a +1 morale bonus on attack rolls until the end of turn. At 7th level, take Spell Specialization. This is the reason for the intelligence score of 13, by the way. Select one spell from a school for which you have taken the Spell Focus feat. Treat your caster level as being 2 higher for all level variable effects of that spell. One of the really nice things about Spell Specialization is, as you increase in level, specifically every even level, you can choose a new spell to specialize in. So you don't need to worry about marrying the spell. And you can trade up when a better option comes along. Finally, at 9th level, I'm going to recommend Extra Revelation, Form of Flame. As a standard action, you can assume the form of a small fire elemental as Elemental Body 1. At level 9, you can assume the form of a medium fire elemental as Elemental Body 2. At 11th level, you can assume the form of a large fire elemental as Elemental Body 3. At 13th level, you can assume the form of a huge fire elemental as Elemental Body 4. You can use this ability once per day, but the duration is 1 hour per level. You must be at least 7th level for this revelation. Oh, by the way, just as a thematic thing, I would want the fire elemental form of my Kitsune Oracle to be a fiery 9-tailed fox, because, that's awesome. Alright, now let's dig into the spells that are available to you. Oracles choose spells known, just like sorcerers, but from the cleric spell list. Now, you don't need to worry about being a sad, boring person and adding healing spells to your spells known, because you get those automatically. And you can even choose to take inflict spells instead, but I wouldn't, because healing spells are going to be more useful to you. Oracles also receive a number of bonus spells, which they add to their list of spells known. At 2nd level, you get Burning Hands. This will be one of your main weapons at early levels. You get Resist Energy at level 4. You get everybody's favorite spell at 6th level, Fireball. You get the very awesome, very helpful Wall of Fire at 8th level, which does double damage against undead, by the way. And at 10th level, you can use Summon Monster 5 to summon fire elementals. Now, it's important to remember that you cast like a sorcerer. So, you have fireballs for days, especially if you have a nice high charisma modifier. I also have to recommend taking the spell Flame Strike, which does both fire damage and divine damage, so it can't be reduced completely by fire resistance. It's just great. Now, it's important to remember that being an oracle isn't all magical fire and healing. You're also under the Oracle Curse. The nice thing is that the Oracle Curse makes you better in certain ways. Now, if you want to be really thematic and all about that fire all the time, you could take the Blackened Oracle Curse. Your hand and forearm are severely blackened, as if you have plunged your arm into a blazing fire, and your thin, papery skin is sensitive to the touch. You take a -4 penalty on weapon attack rolls, but you add Burning Hands to your list of spells known. That isn't really important, but at 5th level you add Scorching Ray and Flaming Sphere to your list of spells known. And at 10th level, you get Wall of Fire, and your penalty on weapon attack rolls is reduced by 2. But you could also consider the Haunted Curse. Malevolent spirits follow you wherever you go, causing minor mishaps and strange occurrences. Retrieving a stored item from your gear requires a standard action unless it would normally take longer. Any item dropped lands 10 feet away from you in a random direction. Add Mage Hand and Ghost Sound to your list of spells known. At 5th level, add Levitate and Mirror Image to your list of spells known. At 10th level, add Telekinesis to your list of spells known. You could also take one of the sillier curses, Tongues. In times of stress or unease, you speak in tongues. Pick one of the following languages: Abyssal, Aklo, Aquan, Auroran, Celestial, Ignean, Infernal, or Terran. When you are in combat, you only speak and understand the selected language. This does not interfere with spellcasting, but it does apply to spells with language-dependent components. You gain the selected language as a bonus language. At 5th level, you can pick an additional language to speak in combat and add it to your list of known languages. At 10th level, you can understand any spoken language as if under the effects of tongues during combat. Alright, now let's talk about your skills. I'm particularly fond of Acrobatics and Perform for this build. Acrobatics is a really useful thing to be able to do, especially in combat, and it dovetails with an ability that Kitsunes get naturally. With the +2 racial bonus to acrobatics you get from Agile, you're going to have really high acrobatics rolls, which will allow you to move through combat without provoking attacks of opportunity, and it'll let you jump from place to place easily if you're not interested in using your wings to fly. I also like Perform just because it's really thematic for the character. I would also recommend taking a trait like Dangerously Curious to get Use Magical Device, which you also have the potential to be really good at because of your Charisma score. Finally, let's talk about items that I think would be really helpful for this character. First up is the Ring of Revelation. The Ring of Revelation allows you to add an additional revelation for the appropriate mystery to the ones that you have access to. These are revelations like Cinder Dance, which increases your movement by 10 feet, and at 5th level gives you Nimble Movements as a bonus feat, and Acrobatic Step at 10th level. Or Heat Aura, which as a swift action, you can cause a wave of heat to radiate from your body. This heat deals 1d4 points of fire damage per 2 Oracle levels, minimum of 1d4, to all creatures within 10 feet. A reflex save halves the damage. In addition, your form waves and blurs, giving you a 20% concealment bonus until next turn. You can use this ability once per day, plus 1 additional time at 5th level and every 5 levels thereafter. Also, I would recommend a Metamagic Rod of Intensified Spell. Because this character build focuses a lot on increasing your caster level, this rod will be really helpful to you even fairly early on, to get the most out of spells like Burning Hands. I hope you've enjoyed this fiery Kitsune Oracle build. Now if you're interested in more character builds and class analysis guides for Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons, check out D6 Damage right here on YouTube.